It is an absolutely crazy crypto market right now. If you zoom in, look through the volatility, that's so crazy. Watch the volatility in Bitcoin, then the Bitcoin dominance. Some of these are important points which you may have to take notes on so that you understand which direction we are actually going. Say, for example, you do look at the total market, the alt market. You're watching the volume, you're watching the fluctuation, and it's a short term chart. Agreed. So, what are we watching? Now, we do have a possibility that we may bounce further towards next 7 to 8%. It's not a small move, it's a decent move out there, which is okay, which is good. But then you have to ask your question, what's the macro move? Do you think you have seen this before? If not, let me remind you. You came down to this point, hit the moving average and the previous support zone, and you're trying to bounce off. You have seen something similar in the past. Now, for all of us here, keep this in mind, the number of days taken in the consolidation day was 30 days, which means from the local top, if you plot that 30 days, where do we reach? We reach Jan 1st. That's the new year. It's not a bad thing to ride through that. It's a great thing to ride through that because you're watching some of these movements in the market, which is actually fine. You're watching some of them trying to break back higher to regain, whereas a lot of others are just still at the bottom. Now, it's on you to check whether you can actually understand, okay, fine, that's dropped 70%, that's dropped 60%, and these are opportunities. And that's exactly why in the SF family, I'm posting all of those. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. This is a gaming asset, Gala. You're watching the price dropping. Now, what should you keep in mind? Yes, the asset will still go up, but the average drop in the market can be what? The average drop in the market can be 50% minimum towards 80 max. So say around 65% in average. Did we reach there? Not yet. So this is exactly where I want you to focus on what the market shows you. Because if you can do that correctly, now the benefit is on your end. Take XRP for that matter. Yeah. Once you understand, historically speaking, XRP does these kind of moves, you're in a safe zone mentally, emotionally, and you're going to make positive move on a macro, not on a micro. Yeah. Now we come back here on XRP and you're picking up a 3-day chart for XRP. While it was still going up, we know how much it used to drop. We know how volatile it can be. So the average fluctuation which we are keeping our eyes on is somewhat something like this. You have to pull it up and match it. So the price can still come to that point. Fine. But the total market and the Bitcoin kind of gives you that narrative. It kind of sets the stage for us. So first thing is understanding what Bitcoin may do. Now, you have a micro trend here, which would look somewhat like this. A breakout of 98,000 is kind of showing you I'm breaking further to the upside, which is not a bad deal. Honestly, it kind of gives you the ability to say the price action is slowly moving back up and I'm interested in this asset pushing back up. Why? Bitcoin dominance is breaking through a short-term pattern to the downside. So if the micro breaks back up in Bitcoin to test the short-term trend line, while the short-term trend line on the Bitcoin dominance is breaking to the downside, it's good for altcoins. Anyone who's riding the alt market kind of really looks at this saying like, okay, fine. If I get an opportunity there, I'm very happy. I would like to take benefit of those moves in the market because I certainly believe that these moves will generate some profits. Say, for example, if you're trading, you're looking at the market saying some altcoins right now have room to the upside because the average fluctuation in the market is going to be 10%. Yeah, that's a short-term chart, which means some of the micro caps may actually do 30 or 50. Some of the large caps may do 2%, 3%. So the average fluctuation out there in the market most likely will reach somewhat something like this. Say we are watching CRV. We will look through the breakout, the micro moves is crazy. It's only happening in the copy trades because it's very, very hard to put even in the alerts because I enter, if the micro switches, I exit. That's minute. Yeah, you're following a chart on a minute. That's super crazy. You can't even put the alerts on the right time because you enter, you have to exit. You enter, sometimes it's the right time, it burst. So literally you're watching like what? 5%, 10%, 15% ride up. And that makes it a little bit harder to follow what the market is doing. Now, once you understand the micro in Bitcoin, now you're in favor of that rally. So you literally have to be on a 15 minutes chart to look through what Bitcoin is doing. Meaning when Bitcoin is pushing higher and Bitcoin dominance is pushing lower, that would actually give all market some more room to ride to the upside. So if you're trying to compound through your trades, 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%, that's all that you need. You're putting that back in while the Bitcoin micro shows you it's going up and the Bitcoin dominance shows you I'm riding back down. So just use those as an opportunity zone and you're doing good. I mean, that's all that you actually need to ride in this market. You're good to go with that. Right. Now, pick this topic in your mind and keep this like, okay, I'm going to do this, but what's my average return? Right. This is something you have to look at. That includes your long-term bag and your short-term bag, which means you need to focus way more on your long-term bag than on your short-term bag. Recently, I saw few having bigger short-term bags than the long-term bag. I mean, I'm surprised. So I would like to inform everyone, don't go for that. Short-term bag, as I always used to say, is something which is 5-10% of your actual capital. Now, say you have many great trades, you reach 100% equivalent of long-term bag. Pull the capital out, the profits, put it into the long-term bag, keep it safe. Now come back here, start with 10%. Now ride it back up. I would argue that is going to be the best case scenario that your long-term average on total crypto assets will grow. You will have to watch how the market behaves. Sometimes it's going to drop on you. Sometimes it's going to go in your favor. But understand which time horizon you're trading and what you're looking at. Because on a macro, if that's a breakout retest, what are you looking at? You're looking at a buy here so that when it bounces, you get to ride out. But when you're trading on a micro, if it's with leverage, it's very hard because the price, if it actually come back down to retest and then go up within the same hour, within the same 4-hour candle, still you are liquidated. So the amount of risk which you are taking on that front, it's not small. You will have to understand the magnitude of risk which is associated with leverage trading. And especially when the micro in Bitcoin switches, while the Bitcoin dominance still stays there, it don't have to go up or down. It just have to stay there. See this? The Bitcoin dominance is bouncing, Bitcoin is going down, and one asset is slowing down. You get the point? So on a micro, it's very hard to even suggest, guys, there is something like this. By the time I type this, it's already done. Whereas the macro opportunities, it's easy. Why? You can take up to 4 hours, 12 hours, and that's still an opportunity. Even if it moves up 5%, that's okay. Why? You're looking for that asset to do another 300%. Yeah, it would have been 600. It would have been 500, but at least you still have room to make gains. Now let's talk about XRP for that matter. XRP has been very resilient right now. I mean, it's really strong. Each time you push back to the downside, someone is coming to support that in terms of price. That literally looks like price protection. But I'm looking at it and saying like, okay, we are making lower highs. We are making kind of lower lows. And that's on a 12-hour chart. If I pull that on a daily or a 3-day, this is exactly what I'm looking at. I mean, on a daily, say you put a line chart that gives you clarity. Now observe this. There's XRP on a daily on a line chart. You're consistently making what? Lower highs. You already made lower highs. Now it's a higher low, but with higher, not with a higher high, with a lower high. So it's still choppy and confusing. So literally micro moves here in Bitcoin is going to influence a lot. But what about the macro move? Now focus heavily on this because this would most likely go into next 10 days, 15 days. Yeah. What will go into next 10 days? Watch. There's a trend line that's broken now. You zoom in. What do you see? Attempt to retest and break it, but it's slowing down. Can we retest again and break through? I don't know, but watch this. There is another trend line, micro trend line, which the price is abiding by right now. I don't like the look of it. If it does break to the upside, I'm happy. But if it doesn't, what's going to happen? You need to keep that in mind. Yes, it is true that when you're on a 3-day chart, this is exactly what you're watching with the Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is getting rejected on a macro front. And I'm happy about that, which means even if Bitcoin is about to drop, altcoins are not going to get hammered. 1. 2. Even if there is going to be a micro bounce from Bitcoin after reaching that bottom, altcoins are going to do bigger moves. That's something you're watching on the altcoin chart. Whether you're on a 3-day chart of altcoin or on a weekly, you are watching this. Now, let me remind you, you have tools in the market to go. Ranko shows I'm slowing down, but I haven't closed that candle. Look at the difference between the real candle and probability of one candle on a weekly. Now I'm putting it on a 3-day. Same. Now I'm putting it on a daily. Same. It's getting realized that there is going to be one level of correction. But watch this trend line here. That's all that you have to know. Now zoom in 4-hour chart. At that trend line, when you're reaching the support, what is it doing? Fine. Now, what's important? Yes, it's bouncing, but it's more important to break through that trend line saying, okay, I'm doing a continuation rally. I'm not going back down, rather, I'm going back up. So this is something like this. You plot your trend line, and the moment you get to realize it's breaking through, that's a new trend. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm watching it and I'm updating as much as possible in the Patreon and the Telegram so that you guys are up to date. Now, take the same on XRP, put it on the same settings, pull XRP up. On a 4-hour chart for XRP, this is what you're watching. You're now bouncing back up, which is good. Now, where the hell is the trend line? It's a little bit higher, so you need to go up there and break it. Fine. On a 3-day, what are you doing? You're realizing to the downside. On a daily, what are you doing? You're showing a probability to the downside. So this is not time sensitive, it's price sensitive. Ranko charts. Yeah. If you're in a paid version, higher version of TradingView, you get to go below a daily, you get to go even on a hourly, minutes, whichever you want to do. But that's only for micro trading if you do that. Otherwise, what's happening here is you should be on a weekly. And the weekly suggests I'm going for a corrective leg. Yes, each time you do that, you have a bigger bounce. Each time you do that, you have another bounce. So we are looking for something here which would actually push the price back up. But what if before that, Bitcoin come back down to at least retest this? Why this? You put a horizontal line there and ask yourself, what does that range show you? It has been a resistance before. It was a breakout and a retest. It then happened to be support multiple times. So I would argue there is going to be a lot of supply and demand at that zone. So stay updated, stay alive in the Scientific Investor family. Use the link in the description below so that as soon as the market shift, you know what's happening. Easy way. Put the chart here. Look at which of these assets are rallying to the upside on the macro, but has dropped heavily on a micro. That's buy the dip opportunities, guys. I mean, literally pick up a payment asset just as we saw, H-bar. You're coming up here, you're putting the market cap. you're taking the macro and looking at it on a micro, that's still a big move if it breaks higher. Fine. Now you go on a 3-day chart and you're watching this. What's happening there? The price is heavily volatile. It's actually moving up. Fine. On a weekly, do you see something negative? At least I don't. What it shows to me is that there is a possibility that it is starting to develop the negative divergence, which means after this drop, this guy can go down and then go like this. Now, there can be hidden bullish divergence like that, or it can be a textbook negative divergence for which the price will have to do something like this. So if you're in the market, you're like, whoa, that's another 3, 4, 5x coming up. Yeah, it is true. You will have to focus on what Bitcoin is doing on a micro. If you're trading, if you're not trading, don't care. Just look at the total altcoin market. If the total altcoin market is showing you that it is about to go higher, don't worry. Everything is going to go up. You just have to watch what Bitcoin dominance is doing. As long as it's getting rejected, as long as it's slowing down by making a topping pattern like this, double top, Himalaya top, whatever you call it, it's fine. But that kind of a breakout will give you what we want. So to stay updated, be a part of the SI family. And if you haven't smashed that like button yet, I request, do that for me. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.